Good morning and welcome. My name is Steve Pultz. I'm the Assistant Vice President for Enrollment here at the University of San Diego, and it is my distinct pleasure to welcome you all here today for our College Visiting Day. It is great to see so many of you here. As the person responsible for enrollment, it is really nice to see so many of you here. And in fact, not only have we filled up the single largest room that we have here on campus, the Shiley Theater, where you are now, but we have a number of our visitors who are over in our School of Leadership and Education Sciences, Mother Rosalie Hill Hall Auditorium. So welcome to you all as well who are watching this on the big screen there. So again, we're delighted that so many of you took time to come and to visit the university. Just real quick, as we get started here, from a kind of a show of hands, of course I can't see who's in Mother Hill Hall, but for those of you here, how many of you have been to campus before? Okay, great. So a little more than most of you have had an opportunity to see this beautiful place before, and we're delighted that you're back again, and we have a very, very full day in store for you. I want to start by offering my sincere congratulations to you students, certainly on your acceptance to the university, but also on completing all of those applications, taking all those tests, writing all those essays and all of those things. I suspect there's a feeling of relief that part of this process is done on all of your parts. But I also want to congratulate you on all your incredible hard work during high school. As you know, admission to the University of San Diego has gotten pretty competitive over the last few years, and that certainly is a good thing from our perspective. This year, the university received the second highest number of applications it's ever received. We had over 14,600 applications for the freshman class, a class that we expect to be about 1,115 students. And so our decisions in the admissions office were extremely difficult. You have amazing academic credentials, but of course you know that. You know you're all really good students. The average grade point average and test score of our admitted students this year was a 3.94 weighted GPA on a 4.0 scale, a 1251 total on the critical reading and math, and 1870 total on the SAT, one of the strongest it's ever been. So certainly congratulations on your academic accomplishments. But beyond your academic abilities, which were certainly important in our decision, we selected you to become a part of this community because we felt that you were a great fit for our campus. We felt that way because of the amazing array of extracurricular activities that you've been a part of, the sports you've played, the community service involvement that you've had, the difference that you've made in your schools and in your communities. It's because of all of those things, as well as your academics, that we believe that you too want to make a difference in the world, to be a change maker. And today we are really excited about the opportunity to show you what we mean by that and how we can help you make a difference. More on that to come. Parents, I also want to offer a very hearty thank you and congratulations to you too. I know that these past few months have probably changed the dynamics in your household, probably changed the dinner conversations a little bit. I've been in admissions now for 26 years, and I thought I knew all about this process until my own two sons went through it, and I experienced things as a parent just a few years ago. It's a very emotional time for you parents. It's an emotional time in the lives of thinking of your sons and daughters going off to forge their own way. It's really a hard thing to think about this incredible investment. Who's going to teach your son or daughter? Who's going to look after them, protect them, prepare them for their life after college? Well, today we are equally excited about helping you better understand how we do that. And today you are going to get to meet the faculty, the students, and the staff that carry out that very important work. We want you to leave here today knowing that we take very seriously the responsibility that you entrust to us. More on that to come as well. As I said, we have a really full day. I'll review the whole schedule in a few moments, but to get started, we'd like to begin our program today with a prayer and some welcoming remarks from Monsignor Dan Dillabeau. Monsignor Dillabeau is the Vice President of the University Mission and Ministry, and he has a long history here at the university. He obviously started very, very young. He was a student here. He received his bachelor's degree in philosophy from USD. He's earned a Bachelor of Arts in Sacred Theology from the Gregorian University in Rome. He also has a Juris Canonici Licentia, did I say that right? A JCL on canon law The best I can do, Father, the best I can do. I should have just left it alone and said a JCL on canon law from Gregorian and a doctorate in sacred theology from the Lateran University, also in Rome. He was ordained at St. Peter's in Vatican City and received the Prelate of Honor in 1988. He has served not only the university, but the Diocese of San Diego in a number of capacities. On top of all of that, he serves as the chaplain for the San Diego Chargers, and one of his most important responsibilities is to make sure that it doesn't rain on this particular day, which he did. So thank you for being here, Monsignor. Please join me in welcoming Monsignor Dan Dillabo.
Good morning and welcome to USD. Steve didn't graduate from USD, so I didn't expect him to get those Latin terms correct. It really is exciting to see all of you here at USD this morning and to offer, first of all, a prayer of blessing on our day together. And for you who are in our satellite locations, the blessing will extend. Let us begin in prayer. God of wisdom, on this college visiting day, we are mindful of the human search for wisdom. As we acknowledge the gifts for learning that you have so generously bestowed on these young women and men assembled before you, we ask your blessing on their day with us. May these, our guests, find the spirit of generosity, hospitality, and loving service that is the foundation of our University of San Diego community. Give all who have difficult decisions to make the blessing of discernment as they make the choices that will set the course of their lives. And we pray that at the end of this day, with gratitude in our hearts and safe travel to our homes, we may find us ever more closely united to you and one another. In your holy name we pray. Amen. Well, this really is an important day. For the decision of where one attends college impacts a student's life in so many, many ways. What your career will be, who your friends, lifetime friends will be, what kind of interest you develop, and it'll impact your families as well. And as you all know, it's also a major financial investment. So we really want you to take a careful look at USD as one of those great colleges where we believe students find life-changing experiences, academic proficiency, and social and spiritual maturity, all of these. Now, I like our admissions people a lot. They have a very difficult job sifting through all the applications. And so when they ask me if I could take a few minutes to describe a little bit about USD and how good we are, I said, well, sure. I said, I could just say, since I'm a USD alum, look at me, I turned out okay. My mother loved me. But the response came back very quickly. Monsignor, try something else. It would take a lot more time to convince them once they just looked at you. So, well, I do bleed Torero blue. So my comments may seem a little bit like a sermon, but I do want to try to give you an idea of who I think we are, what I believe makes us special, unique, and how we fulfill our promises to those who come here. When Bishop Buddy, the founding bishop of the Diocese of San Diego, teamed up with Mother Rosalie Hill of the Religious of the Sacred Heart, it was to form a dream and to make that a reality, to begin a Catholic university here in the beautiful Southwest of the United States. Bishop Buddy even called it, his dream, the Notre Dame of the West. And in a relatively short time, 60 plus years, we have grown up to be a nationally ranked university. But we've also remained true to our founder's vision. We remain convinced of the value of a liberal education, small class size, individual attention to our students in their educational goals, as well as their personal growth. So as you walk around today and meet our community, remember Mother Hill's words. She said, "There are three things that are significant in education: beauty, truth, and goodness. But the only one that attracts people, she said, on sight is beauty. If beauty attracts people, they will come, and then they will find the truth, and they will have goodness communicated to them by the kind of people that are here." At USD, as students, I believe, you will know your professors personally, in class, in our advising, in their research, and work with them in research. On the other hand, in class, they will know you by name as well. That's not always so good. They will mentor you, engage you in their research, and like many in the past, be friends with you for your life's journey. You will experience the same thing with residence life and student affairs staff. In our centers like diversity and inclusion, the counseling center, the women's center, the health centers, our learning centers, with our public safety staff, and all who are here for one thing and one thing only: to help our students succeed. And for you parents, to have them graduate on time and get a job and get out of the house. And to make a difference in our world. We know you have lots of choices, and we really do want you to make the best choice. We want you to choose us because of who we are and how that fits with who you want to be. So just a few distinguishing details and reasons that I believe one might choose USD. We first of all are a Catholic university, a faith-based institution. We're not Jesuit, though. With the new pope, we may reconsider that. But that means that our values come from a belief in the divine and a search for the truth. The same values that have marked Catholic higher education throughout the world for centuries are found today in our commitment here to academic integrity and academic freedom, to the rigorous quest for understanding and truth, for justice, and for compassion. No matter what one's faith tradition or belief system is, we welcome and begin here from the principles that teach us to respect the dignity of every human person, the foundation of Catholic social thought. This means that we make a life commitment to our students to provide the best kind of environment to grow and to mature in wisdom and knowledge, as well as their own personal journey. Just to name a few other distinguishing reasons that I think differentiate us. And I know you're going to hear more about them today, and I hope you'll really try to understand them. One of them is our designation as a Changemaker campus, one of 19 around the world. This honor is given because our students and faculty and administration believe in entrepreneurship and social innovation and the need to be globally engaged today. Our designation as #1 in participation of student abroad programs, #1 in the nation, supports our commitment to prepare leaders who are able to go into the broad world in whatever their field of expertise. But they'll know that world not just from books, but from living with people, learning their language and their culture in their environment. Our living learning communities engage faculty and student and ministry staff team to provide an environment in our residences where learning goes outside the classroom, where people feel immediately welcome and at home in our community. In our service learning and our ministry service and retreats, our students don't just stay on campus, but rather they reach out to the community around us and the world around us in service and service learning to reflect on their good work and what a difference it can make in our world for the future. There are lots of other reasons, but these are just a couple. On the other side, especially for you students, it's not all work. Our recreation and our sports programs, our arts and music opportunities, our clubs and student organization will invite you to more choices than you have time for, trust me. In fact, one of my favorite stories was a couple of years ago. I was coming out of my house. I live at the sports center, so I have my own pool, tennis courts, and gym. I share it, but it's mine. And one of the students was running by, and I said, "Chris, where are you going?" He said, Chris didn't usually move that fast, by the way. He said, "I'm going to massage class." I said, "Massage class?" He said, "Yeah, the co-eds need some bodies to work on." I knew I was a few years too late in college. Our Division I sports programs and our student athletes give us wonderful venues for celebrating the Torero spirit. And all of this in America's finest city, where being outside and near the ocean, the desert, and the mountains make for a great place to live and to play. You'll hear in much more detail about these things as the day goes on. I invite you to ask questions, to probe. We really do want you to know us and to choose USD because you know it is the fit, the place where you can grow and succeed. I'll end with the brief story of one of our students. Rosie Lopez will graduate from law school this year. Rosie began 7 years ago here at USD. Her family emigrated from Mexico. She worked hard in high school and, like all of you, was accepted to USD. During her high school days, she and her brothers would get up at 2:30 in the morning to help their mother with their paper route. And she continued that through college, also working for as many hours as she could full-time in the president's office as student help. When she graduated, she was accepted immediately to our evening law school program, and she'll graduate this spring. Just recently, Rosie was nominated and won the Cardinal Bernardine Award for New Outstanding Leaders, two picked from the United States who have dedicated their work and their lives as students to fight against injustice and poverty. During her time, Rosie reached out in our service learning trips and our outreach especially to Tijuana and to Mexico, helping people. She is one of those change makers who began here in a very simple way, and she will make a difference in our world. We believe that's possible for every one of our students. We believe that is happening today with our alums around the world. And so I just want to say that we're praying for you today and in your discernment. We do know how important it is May God bless you in your work today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Father Dan. We're going to switch gears right now and jump right to our panel and begin. I'll introduce them from here, and then we have a short film clip that I'll introduce in just a moment, and then we will kind of have our panelists talk a little bit about some of the things you've heard about from the core curriculum, the living learning communities, our study abroad programs, and all of those things. First, to my immediate left, is Dr. Michelle Boudria, Associate Professor of Marine Science and Environmental Studies. Dr. Boudria is currently the chair of the department and has been on the faculty since 1996. He also serves as the chair of the university's Sustainability Task Force. Dr. Boudria received his Bachelor of Science degree from McGill University in Toronto, his MS in Biological Oceanography from Oregon State, and his PhD in Oceanography from the Scripps Institution of Oceanography right across town at the University of California, San Diego, UCSD. In the middle, we have Dr. Del Dixon. Dr. Dixon is a professor in the Department of Political Science and International Relations, as well as the pre-law advisor here. He has worked closely, as has Dr. Boudria, with the honors program here, and now is going to be working very closely with our living learning communities, which you'll hear about in just a moment. He did his undergraduate work at Humboldt State here in California, got his master's degree at the University of Southern California, his Juris Doctorate degree from UCLA, and his PhD at USC. Must be very conflicted at football season, I'm sure. And third, we are delighted to have one of our current students with us, Supreet Bains. Supreet is a sophomore from California, and she reminded me that just 2 short years ago, she sat right there where you are with this big choice ahead of her, and of course chose to come to USD. She has an intended major of finance, although that's not what she put on her application for admission, and she'll talk a little bit about that as we go. She's part of our Changemaker Hub, serving as the Changemaker Student Committee lead. She's an academic senator in our Associated Students and also the Senate parliamentarian, truly a student leader here, and I'm delighted that she could join us as well. So before we begin, I want to introduce this very short film clip by Dr. Patricia Marquez. Dr. Marquez is an associate professor in our School of Business who also serves as the head of our Changemaker Hub. And I don't think there's anyone who could explain and talk more energetically or more clearly about what it means to be a Changemaker campus. You've heard a lot about this. It's been in our admissions material. Hopefully you've been on our website. You've heard from some of our current students. A lot of you have been here before. To set the stage for the conversation we're going to have here over the next 45 minutes or so, I want to show this clip and help explain in her words what a Changemaker is. If we could show that clip, we'll get started.
USD is a very exciting place right now. Why? Because we're change makers.
I became involved in Cool Club last semester. A friend actually told me about it, and she just said that I should go in with her and just give it a shot.
Go give them the ball and he'll throw it and you catch it.
And I was in for a really big surprise. I absolutely loved it.
A change maker is a person who really believes I can make a difference.
I do think that we are changing the lives of the kids in Cool Club, just in the sense that they don't get the opportunity to interact with kids our age.
A change maker is a person who feels I have the skills, I have the knowledge, I have the empathy to make a difference.
In the beginning, I thought that I was the one that was making a difference, but then I realized that the impact they were making in my life was just so much more than what I could ever hope to contribute to theirs.
1, 2, 3.
The Changemaker Hub, just like in a wheel, in some ways is the institutional manifestation of the university's mission. Being a Catholic university, part of the strong component has to do with the social mission. How do we help others? By learning and by engaging with the world, the local community, as well as other countries. By having the recognition, it gives us the opportunity to pause and to think carefully about what is it that we have been doing really well, and how do we respect that natural energy, those programs, those courses that are geared towards shaping new minds and new individuals that are capable of solving today's greatest challenges.
The people who are in top management really making big decisions.
And we are providing that space. We are creating that platform for students to feel like, I want to be at USD.
In a leadership and groups class, we were given a task of a social change project, and what we did is we had to not only define what social change was, but actually make social change in the community. And we realized that the social change we wanted to make was to stop bullying in middle schools. That was where Lace Up Stand Up was born. We decided on bullying because it was something that everyone had a part in, whether as a bully themselves, as a victim, or as a witness of seeing it happen and not doing anything about it. What Changemaker means to me is someone who sees a problem in the world and doesn't only make people aware of that problem, but actually takes steps to change it.
You want to come to this university because you care. You care about the world, because what happens in this world is important to you. And you don't want to sit down and watch what happens around you. You don't want to be reactive to the things that come to you. You want to be proactive because you know you can do it. You have the imagination and you have the creativity. And you're coming here because you want to figure it out. You want an experience that allows you to reflect on and think and gather the skills and get the knowledge and get the capabilities to take these ideas that you already had and connect them with new ones. In whatever area that interests you, it could be theater, it could be business, it could be peace, it could be leadership, it could be chemistry, it could be biology. It doesn't matter. We are all change makers. We all have to think about systems. We all have to think about how to understand problems. How do we use that energy, their creativity, to figure it out how to make a better world?
I'm a change maker.
I'm a change maker.
I'm a change maker.
If this is not exciting, I don't know what it is.
Again, sort of setting the stage for our conversation today. Before we kind of jump into the Changemaker theme and explore that a little bit further, Dr. Bedre, I'm going to start with you. One of the most pressing questions, I'm sure, on the minds of our students out there is what this first-year experience is really going to be like, and what awaits me, what awaits them from a coursework perspective, what classes are you going to take. I'm sure a lot of them are wondering why their portal status says College of Arts and Science is undecided, even though they've picked something on their application, all of those things. USD takes kind of a different approach to that first year, and I wonder if you could talk a little bit about the preceptorial program and how we work with students in that first year.
Sure. The preceptorial program is really one of the signatures of USD. It's a time for students to come and get to know and work with the professor. It doesn't matter if you know what your major is or if you do. You'll have a faculty member who will be the person that you work with in your first year. They will help you choose your classes. They'll help you handle your problems. They'll help you work with you in the LLCs, which you'll hear a little bit more from Dr. Dixon. It's a way of having someone who can help you with that transition from where you were to where you want to be. The preceptors are faculty who care about students and want to work with them as undergraduates. You are in a class with them, so you'll be getting your academic perspective from that class. But you also have someone who can help you navigate your way through. If you know what your major is, most times that preceptor becomes your advisor for 4 years. It's the person that's going to guide you through your entire career, help you write letters of recommendation when you leave USD and go somewhere else. If you don't know, that preceptor may guide you to who to talk to, who to find out, who you can talk to about whatever issues you are facing as a student. If you do not have a major right away, you may have someone in the dean's office help you in your sophomore year. But we really do want to work with the students, and it makes a very big difference. The preceptorial classes, in addition to that, are kept small. They're rarely more than 20 students with one faculty member teaching you for that whole time. So there really is a lot going on, and it's a way of really making you welcome and also starting your academic career with someone who works specifically with freshmen.
Great, thanks. So we've heard a lot about the living learning communities, and not a unique idea to USD. Lots of institutions have those kind of things, themed learning communities, and for the first time, all of our freshmen are going to find themselves in one of our living learning communities. But I think what is distinctive about the way we go about that is the way that those themes are connected to academics. And Dr. Dixon, I know you'll be really a part of that this year. I wonder if you could talk about that and the connection to the academic experience.
I will. And let me start off by saying I do think the preceptorial program is the single most important thing we do. It's something that when I'm at other universities, other professors, other students, when they hear about it, they always say something like, gee, I wish we could do that. And one of the things that we decided as a university is to build on that. Rather than just kind of rest on our laurels, we wanted to make it even better. And the way that we came up with to do that, to build on the success of the preceptorial program, is to start linking them together. Now, as a university, we take the idea of community very, very seriously. We're a community of scholars, we're a community of teachers, we're a community of students. And as a freshman, it's always a mystery. I was a freshman, I'm losing my memory, but I still remember my freshman year coming in trying to figure out how I'm going to connect with my university. And it was tough to do. The preceptorial program gives you one connection. The LLC gives you a larger connection. The LLC is a living learning community with associated preceptorial classes that are basically clustered together around a common theme. So your preceptorial class will be a small safe harbor for you, but then you'll have a chance to connect to 120, 130, 150 other students who are interested in the same subjects that you're interested in, although they may be coming at it from a different perspective. So it gives you, all of a sudden, you go from 20 people who you know well to 120 people that you know well, and then hopefully you'll be able to connect to larger communities from there. The LLCs, you will come in, you will pick a theme. Some of the themes are sustainability, social justice, space, place, and sound. There's an honors LLC, and that happens to be the one that I'm going to be the director of. And you will come in and you will all live together in the same dorm. You will live together in the same dorm area at the very least. And again, it will give you a group of people where if you're in the social justice LLC, for example, well, you may be approaching social justice from a political science point of view. You may be approaching it from a business point of view. You may be approaching it from a biology point of view. But there's something about all of those disciplines that will allow you to overlap. And it gives you a nice head start, I think, on your core curriculum, because you're going to be talking to somebody if you are thinking about being a political science major. You're going to have a chance to talk to somebody who's interested in biology, a peer, another freshman. And so you're going to be able to see that theme in a different way. Now, one of the things that we do in building that community is each LLC will go out and have activities. And we tend to do that toward the beginning of the year, where we kind of combine academics and community building, and hopefully there's at least a little bit of fun in there. So, for example, we might go out and visit an organic apple orchard and pick apples. Or we may go together to a play at the Old Globe. Or we may go out and visit different San Diego neighborhoods. For example, we might visit churches and synagogues and mosques scattered around the area to see how San Diego functions. Or we might do, my favorite event is we go down to La Jolla and we swim with the local school of leopard sharks that are there. And we try not to be hurt. And that's kind of our goal, is to bring most of our students back from that trip.
He really wanted to be a marine biologist, but it's okay.
I did. I didn't have the intelligence to do it. And so for me, the LLCs has really served, I think, as a launching pad for our students to come in, get connected, explore a little bit, and then move on into the rest of the university.
Great, thanks. For those of you who decide to come to USD, you'll get information about this, but on May 7th, we're actually going to host one of the many transitional webinars and informational sessions that we're going to provide. On May 7th, we're going to actually have a webinar talking exactly about how you fill out your advising questionnaire, how the LLC, the real details behind the LLCs, how they're linked, so you'll get more information about that, but thank you for that, Del. Supreet, so I mentioned in the introduction that as a high school student, when you were a senior out here, you had a different major in mind. But can you tell us a little bit about how that transpired, and then a little bit about your preceptorial class?
Great. So when I first was in high school, I was very involved in political science and international relations. I had a great passion for foreign policy. So when I entered USD, I was 100% sure I was going to go to law school. Well, that's not going to happen. I'm sorry. So I was in the international relations preceptorial. My advisor was Dr. Emily Edmonds. And what I really enjoyed about that class was there was individuals in that class from China, the Midwest, the East Coast, Europe, and myself being from California, we had so many different unique perspectives and the same shared interest of international relations. It doesn't matter if you're going to major in your preceptorial class. It's just a unique way to get your first step into the door, to understand more about USD, to learn about different areas of interest. So that was a phenomenal experience of mine.
Great. And you also were in one of the learning communities, is that right? Tell us a little bit about that from your perspective.
I was in the Sustainability LLC, and to be honest, before I was in it, I had absolutely no idea what sustainability even meant. And so after being in the LLC, I met the director, who was Dr. Del Rio, and his enthusiasm was so contagious, his energy was just radiating, and he was so stoked, he even rides his bike to school every single day. We ended up creating a garden in our residential area, and I learned so much about the sustainability and how important it is, and how we can apply it to our everyday living lifestyles.
Great, thank you. So let's get right into the Changemaker designation. I think one of the things I think the university is most proud about in terms of having been recognized as one of these 19 campuses is that it was an affirmation of the things that we've already been doing, and it was an affirmation of, as you heard Monsignor talk about, really the vision of what Bishop Buddy and Mother Hill had. I want to ask kind of an open-ended question to each of you from your perspective in the sciences, the social sciences, as faculty through your research, and certainly as a student. What does being a Changemaker campus mean, and how does it make us a little different in the marketplace, if you would?
Well, there's two things I want to say. One is, one of the things that people often think, including students and parents, is you're going to come in here and you're going to be a doctor, and therefore you're going to be a biology major, and that's what you're going to do for 4 years. That's not true. That's not what you're going to do for 4 years. We are a liberal arts university, which means you're going to be a well-rounded person when you leave here. You may have that deep passion and stay in that major, and we all do. We all have the place that we like best. But to me, that's part of what Changemaker is. It means it's making the connections across all these other disciplines. As people may think, well, it's social justice, so it's social entrepreneurship. How could a scientist get involved? They get involved all the time. They're ones coming up with ways of developing new technology. Sustainability is a big passion of mine. It's a place where you can get involved in so many different ways from so many different majors. You can get involved in the studies that relate to the environment. Clearly a passion of mine. These are the kinds of things where Changemaker means that, as you heard Dr. Marquez said, each one of us can make a difference. And it's a place on campus where you can connect your passions as an individual to your academic experience. And I will tell you that more and more as we think about developing USD, I'm also on the core curriculum revision committee, and we're working on making our core even more dynamic, even more connected, allowing you to really go across all these disciplines and make the connections between political science and philosophy and economics and the environment. So to me, that's what Changemaker means. It means that you're going to be doing more than one thing and learning about all these issues.
Wonderful. Dr. Dixon?
Well, I guess I represent the social sciences on this and maybe pre-law, so I'll address it from that point of view. I mean, I agree with Dr. Boudrea 100%. What you do is when you come in here, number one, I think the Changemaker is you. You will change more over the next 4 years than maybe any 4 years of your life. So you ought to be prepared for that. And most of those surprises are going to be very pleasant with kind of an unpleasant bump along the road every now and then. So you can kind of expect that too. So you will change. You will be a change maker that way on an individual level. Within the social sciences, and I think the university as a whole, we don't teach you in order for you to get your first job. And I think I'll talk about that a little bit more later if I have a chance to. But we try to educate you to be a broad, well-educated person in a general sense. And at this university, that includes a concern with ethics. It includes a concern with doing good in the world. And to me, that's what being a good change maker is. A change maker, to me, that's a label. And what we've been doing as a university forever is trying to change the world, but hopefully for the better. And we do, I think, take more pains than many universities I know to try to look at it that way, to try to look at the world from an ethical standpoint, to try to look at people who need help and who need assistance, rather than looking at college as a way for us to go through in 4 years and then become as rich as we possibly can. That to me is fairly limited. Within the social sciences, I've always thought that our job is to educate our students, to point them in the right direction and to set them loose on the world. And I think we've done a pretty good job that way. Our students, especially in the social sciences, once they leave here, they scatter just as they should. They go around the world. We have students who are living and learning and making a difference in China. We have Changemakers who are right here in San Diego. Todd Gloria, one of my ex-students, is the president of the city council, and he right now is changing our mayor, Bob Filner's life.
Yes, he is.
They are
Every day.
We have students, we have a great core of students in Washington, D.C., making a difference there, working in all sorts of areas. We have students in Costa Rica working in marine biology. We have students in deepest, darkest Utah making a difference. We have students all over the place doing things. My department chair, Dr. Mike Williams, has adopted a school in South Africa, and they are making a difference there with a school who was looking for a partnership, looking for help, and we've been able to provide that to some degree.
Great. Supreet, why does being a changemaker matter for our students?
So in fall 2011, when I was a freshman, we got recognized as a Changemaker campus. And for the past couple years, it has truly become an enormous part of our identity and who we are and what the culture at USD is. Last year, I had the great opportunity to attend the Ashoka U Exchange, which was a global convening of 650 individuals from 40 different countries. And that truly, absolutely changed my career path, my college career. This year, we had the great honor of hosting the Ashoka U Exchange. And for the past 11 months, the Changemaker Hub, Associated Students, the Changemaker Student Committee, and various different organizations teamed up and collaborated in making this great event happen. For 11 months, it was just such a phenomenal experience. I've never learned anything in any classroom or any organization more than I have in this project. And we recognize the Changemaker in you, and that is why you are in those seats today, because we are so excited to have you join our Changemaker campus, and just can't wait to see you all here.
Great, thank you. Dr. Marquez mentioned two important dimensions of being a changemaker, and I think they're two important dimensions of our approach to educating our students. One is to how we prepare students to think differently and to develop the critical thinking skills that they need. And not only to become change makers, but to help them on their path as they get into their careers and jobs. And then also to go beyond the campus and to experience the world in some different ways. Dr. Dixon, I'd like to start with you and to talk a little bit more about our core curriculum. We started to touch on that and that liberal arts approach and why, in this day and age, I know you are all certainly concerned with outcomes, but more and more, as we hear from employers, and I'll let you address this more, the skills that are the traditional hallmarks of the liberal arts education seem to be as valued now as ever as we talk about this challenging economic marketplace. Can you talk a little bit about our core and how we prepare students in that direction?
Yeah, I will. And I think I'll start off with the liberal arts because that's the big picture. We are a liberal arts education. We are not a welding school. We are not a vocational school. We do not train you for your first job. We train you for your fifth job. We train you for your career. We want you to be productive. We want you to be flexible. We want you to be inquisitive. We want you to be happy. And we don't want you to just kind of think of college as a means to your first job. I want you to leave here in 4 years. I want you to leave here in 4 years hungry. I mean, to me, this is the first and maybe most important step in higher education and in your life, the rest of your life for sure. But it's a process that hopefully if we've done our job and you've done yours, you will be looking for an education for a lifetime. And that's what the liberal arts does. It gives you that essential core of knowledge, that essential set of skills that you will use in whatever you decide to do with your lifetime, even if you vacillate, even if you go from one place to another. The core is how we make sure that you do that. The core is often called general education, and that's okay by me. It is something to make sure that as you come in to this university, your job is to learn as much as you can about the universe of human knowledge. The universe of human knowledge is vast. It's like looking at the night sky. And part of what we try to do is to show you the constellations in that night sky to make sense out. And so within the core, we kind of guide you through your journey a little bit. We make sure that you have some natural sciences, some social sciences, some arts, some humanities. But we try to give you a lot of choices where within that framework you can make your own choices and kind of explore on your own. And that really is what the Corps is all about. Now, it's kind of a team sport in college, and you'll fall into it too, to complain about the Corps because, hey, we're making you take these classes. But it is exactly why you're here, and it's fun to explore. We've had so many students, and you mentioned this, they come into college absolutely convinced that they're going to be A when they get out. And instead, in 4 years, there's Z, or very often, and I might still see you in pre-law. They're A, and then they're Z, and then they're D. They change their minds, and that's part of the 4-year explanation. So come into it with that in mind. Be flexible. You're an explorer for the next 4 years. Enjoy it.
That's great.
If I could add some, one thing you notice is there's 3 of us from 3 different areas. There's a scientist, there's someone thinking about finance, there's a social scientist, but we all love the liberal arts. So I think this is one of the components of USD to get you to think about that from that perspective. And you actually have a great chance to explore. One of my students double majored in theater arts and marine biology. Those are not related fields. She was incredibly brilliant at both. But this is an example of what you can do because you've got 2 passions and 2 ways of doing things.
Great, thank you. Monsignor mentioned our designation as having the highest participation rate in study abroad programs of any school in the country. Again, something we're very, very proud of, but something that's been quite intentional on the part of the institution to build programs and opportunities for our students to go abroad, not just as tourists, but as an extension of our campus here to learn and to make a difference in the world and to certainly understand the world through some different lenses. Michelle, I know you're really involved in it. If I could ask if you talk a little bit about study abroad and even as scientists, how they can take advantage of programs like that.
So before I was in charge of sustainability, I was actually the chair of the study abroad. So this is a passion of mine for a long time. It is a phenomenal experience to get you out of here. We love to bring you here now and we want you to come. But then in a couple of years we're going to send you away because we want you to get this
as long as they come back.
Oh, they have to come back, it's true. But we want to have you have that broader perspective. There are so many opportunities, and one of the reasons why we are number 1 and why it is important to us is we think of study abroad in a variety of different venues. You can go just in the summer or just in January in a faculty-led program. You're taking a 3-week or a 4-week experience with a USD faculty connecting to one specific topic in an area. And these are integrated. You're not just going to London to listen about theater. You're going to be there. Dr. Williams takes students to South Africa. You are learning there. I have taken students with our class in the sciences to Mexico, to Jamaica, to Tahiti. I go to nice warm places, but it's a good place to go. And you get to come with me and learn as you go there. We have a study abroad program specifically set up for sophomores. It's a way of getting the sophomores to sort of bond a little bit more and get that focus between the freshman year when you're learning what you want to be and those junior and senior years when you've kind of already decided more or less where you're going. We have traditional study abroad programs that you might expect, and I think that's where you're going next fall. We have special topics, special ones that are designed to give you a different kind of experience. And in fact, we've worked very hard to have study abroad experience no matter what your major is. And so, for example, it was difficult for science majors to go abroad. You would lose a semester of your lab classes. There are now several opportunities, some in Europe that are more traditional, some in which you spend 6 weeks learning how to sail and doing oceanography, some in which you live in a small fishing village, or you go to Africa and live with the Maasai and actually do science in a true environmental setting. So for someone who really wants to get out there, it works for you. It's designed well enough now to be integrated in your major, your minor, or your core. So it's a way of enhancing your experience here at USD.
Perfect. Dr. Dixon, do you want to?
If I could just add one thing, we do have one other special program. I think it's our most exotic study abroad program, and that's a semester in Washington, D.C., where you can go off and
it's for and it's against.
Yes, and you can work for the government for a year, and it's the same idea. We combine experiential education with traditional education. If you're reading the papers lately, everybody's talking about online courses and MOOCs. If we have our way, we will never do anything like that. The point of a real education is to talk about theory and then move out into the world and do it in practice. And I think that's the direction we're headed in, and I'm convinced that's the right direction.
Great, thank you. So, Preet, coming back to the core curriculum as a student, again, you came in with a definitive idea, but that changed a little bit. Tell us how the core curriculum kind of has impacted you as a student, and maybe a sampling of what your first semester was like for students in terms of the classes you had.
What I really enjoyed about the core curriculum is it kind of forced me to take classes I otherwise would never have taken. I took world religions, I took supply chain management, I took economics, which led me to be a business major and away from law school. So what I really enjoy about the core curriculum is you get to truly be a well-rounded student. You get experience from different fields, you meet amazing professors who truly do become your friends. I actually regularly have coffee with Dr. Del Rio because he was the sustainability director, and really, like I mentioned before, his enthusiasm for sustainability has just inspired me, and I enjoyed talking about life with him. And the core curriculum allows you to expand what you think your major is. If you think you're biology, you will take classes, world religions and economics, and that's what a college education is about exploring, about learning where your true passion is, and just enjoying 4 years here.
That's great, thanks. We've touched on this already, and I know that this liberal arts focus, all of these experiences intended to provide a truly rich undergraduate experience. Parents are hearing every day, students are hearing every day about this incredible investment, about what comes next. What are the outcomes of this experience? And while we certainly, as Dr. Dixon said, don't take the approach that we're training you for your first job, outcomes are certainly very important. And they're very important to our faculty. And I wonder if I could ask each of you to touch a little bit on the overall preparation. We've already started this, but go down that road a little bit. Maybe some examples of students that have gone on to do some really impressive things. What are the ways that departments prepare students for what's going to come next?
So let me take the approach from the sciences across the board, and I'll focus a little bit on marine science and environmental studies. The first thing you've been hearing from us is we want to prepare you to know how to think, to be interested in other dimensions, but we do give you that set of skills to be able to do that. And so, for example, what you heard from Dr. Dixon is how important is it for you to do something rather than just sit in a class and hear about something. So in the sciences, we are incredibly good at giving you all the hands-on experience you need. We provide many more labs than most other universities. We have field trips in our department where you get to go and do oceanography. You get to visit things. You get to do things with your hands yourself. We are instrument rich in the sciences, but these are not run by technicians. They're not run by graduate students. The instruments are run by the students themselves. So our students who get trained and our excellent students and are dedicated get into the best graduate schools, get into the health sciences, are snapped up by the biotech and the geotech and the environmental consulting industry because they are both specialists in learning how to do their work in their major, but also able to write and to think and to be able to get outside of just the narrow niche of learning how the sciences work. And as sustainability is one of my passions, I actually purposely brought a prop with me. I've been drinking from my own water bottle, partly because it's more sustainable, but partly because this is an example. This is one of our students in environmental studies who started his own company, and he wants to get rid of water bottles and have filtered water systems. So he's a student who came here, has an environmental studies degree, does not have a business degree, but as he left here in his third job, because his first job was inventing a website for young people to learn about sustainability, he has his own company. Because he's been trained to think, he's been trained to work with people, he's been trained to go outside the typical box. And I would add one more thing to that, is many of our students do Peace Corps work. And they have a rich experience from here. It ties to community service learning, and then they come back, and then they give even more, and that's their second and third job. And so we will prepare you to do your part. You have to do your part, like come to class and do all those things, but you will be able to be successful when you leave here.
Great. Dr. Dixon?
I'll just mention maybe 2 or 3 students who just pop into my mind, and one you kind of already talked about. I had a student a couple of years ago go off in the Peace Corps to Mali, and her responsibility was to run a microbank there. She's out in the middle of nowhere, all by herself. trying to introduce a system of finance into this satellite of villages. She was there specifically to work with women and to set up a microbank for women. And she found out very quickly that the men in the communities would not let her do that. So she kind of on the fly had to completely change her orientation to try to do what she could do within the constraints of the culture in which she was living. And she succeeded, and she came home happy, and she went on to law school, and she did a very, very good job afterwards. I have students in law who are busy putting people in jail who ought to be in jail. I have students coming out of law school who keep people out of jail who shouldn't be in jail. So they work, I think, with the side of the angels both ways. I have a student who works at the British Embassy in Washington, D.C. And I have a student who I'll mention very briefly, who was a rower in college. She didn't know quite what she wanted to do, and then by chance, and I probably shouldn't say this, she found out that for some reason she really liked shooting a machine gun. And she ended up going into the State Department, and she was the bodyguard for Colin Powell. She was the bodyguard for Yasser Arafat. She was the bodyguard for Nelson Mandela. And she became in charge of diplomatic security for the country of France, and had just a great career.
Great. One of the things that I hope becomes obvious too is the passion and that our faculty have for our students and how well they keep in touch with them. And just off the top of your heads, a dozen or more students that you know when you follow through, again, that getting to know your names, they will know your names and they will seek you out throughout your time.
Could I say, yeah, we do. We love to keep track of our students, and nothing makes us happier for an ex-student to write us and let us know what they're doing.
Great. Cipriano, I want to switch gears a little bit. Students, I'm sure out there are also, in addition to all the academic opportunities, are probably thinking a little bit about finding their place and how can they get involved in coming to a campus where there's so many different options. Can you talk from your perspective in Associated Students, where your AS hat for a few minutes, how does USD help students get involved and offer support for them through the extracurricular side of things?
So Associated Students is similar to your student council or your ASB in your high school. And when I first got into college, I was a freshman last 2011, right? And I said I was gonna run for senator the second month of college. And some of my friends came up to me and they're like, are you sure you wanna do that? Like, what if you lose? And that would be really embarrassing. I was like, no, I'm just gonna do it. So I ran for senator, and it honestly was the best decision I have made at USD. Associated Students has truly become my family away from family. And I've had the great opportunity to fly to New York, to fly to Arizona, to be able to attend these inspiring conferences. And for me, AS is truly the core at USD. Every semester, we have something called the Alcala Bazaar. That's a club fair, and all the organizations come out and have their booths set up. You are able to go up to them, ask questions, and get to explore what things you're interested in. There's so many organizations that there truly is a place here for you and for you to find clubs and organizations that you are interested in.
Great, thank you. My final question for our panelists, kind of open-ended. Piece of advice you'd like to impart to our students or their parents as they sit here today, May 1 looming on the horizon. Piece of advice as they go off to start their college career.
Two things. One, when you get here, make sure you get to know your professors. It is the single best thing you can do, and you're going to hear the same thing from Delicacy, and I say the same thing. Why is this important? This is what makes us special. Your classes are small. Your LLCs allow you to get to know these people. They will be the people who will let you and learn with you, work with you, and help you through your process here. So from the student perspective, that's the single most best advice I can give you. From the parents' perspective, and by the way, I have my children in this room coming to college too, let them decide. Don't ask to talk to them every single day when they're on campus. Let them learn here. It's not an easy thing to do. They have to learn on their own here with the people at USD to support them.
Go.
We understand it's a complicated decision that you have to make. I'm sure you have a lot of choices. We know finances are a factor. Boy, they sure would be for me. And you have a difficult decision to make. I hope it's also a fun decision. Don't let that cloud you. There aren't many universities that I would rank as terrible. All you can do is make the best choice under the circumstances that you can. That said, I would say if it comes down to a tie, pick a smaller university over a larger university. We are here, we are teachers and we are scholars, but we're teachers first. We don't consider students to be a distraction. We don't consider students to be taking us away from our real work, which is our research. We do get to know our students. We enjoy our students, and we want our students to come and talk to us. And I think that's the advantage of a smaller school. The larger schools are there. They're really designed for graduate study. And again, we want you to go on from USD and hopefully consider graduate study. Those big schools are set up for that, and that's when you want to save that kind of large school.
Perfect. Supreet?
Choosing where you attend for the next 4 years is probably the most exciting decision that you as students and parents will make. So there's a couple of things I would encourage you to consider. Where do you want to study abroad? What major do you want to pursue? What kind of geographic location do you want to be? But honestly, it doesn't get better than San Diego. So my best advice to students is to be open to change. Come to college hungry. Come to explore and let your perspectives change. I can guarantee you all of those sitting in here will definitely change your major at least once. And when people told me that, I freaked out. But it's okay. Just explore, be open to opportunities, do things that you have not done before, and just enjoy your 4 years here, because it's going to be the best 4 years of your life, for sure.
Right. Thanks. We probably have time for 1 or 2 questions, and so I will go ahead and I'll probably mess with the cameraman by getting up and moving around. We'll obviously have to take those questions from here, but why don't we go ahead and think of a question, 1 or 2 questions for our panelists. Someone like to start us off? Yes, sir.
I just had a question. There's a lot that's being talked about students that are coming from outside, but about the local students that aren't going to be living on campus, what kind of opportunities are offered to by getting to know the campus and getting to know what's going on?
Great question. That question was about our students who are local, who may be living at home and commuting, and we do have a number of students, of course, who are here from San Diego. How can they get involved and get to know the campus, and what opportunities are there for them? Would anyone like to take that? Yeah, Del, and maybe Supreet too, yeah.
I think I'm a good person to answer that at least first. Again, we understand that some of our students are going to be local. I mean, we love our local students. We understand that they do have some challenges that students living on campus don't have. Within the LLCs, we've taken that into account specifically. Local students, even the ones not living on campus, will be incorporated into the LLCs. They will have a magic card to get them into the dorms. They will have full access to the entire community. They will, of course, be invited along to all the activities. So to that degree, and we started that last year, from my experience, it's been very successful. Students have not felt like commuters. They really have come in and felt like part of the community. Now that said, the only warning is you ought to encourage them to stay here and get involved in this rather than calling them home as soon as classes are over. So that's the only thing.
Supreet, do you want to?
I have several friends who are commuter students, and on campus we have something called a commuter lounge, and that is a place where commuter students can gather around, meet other fellow commuters, and do homework, hang around, and I've realized that the commuter students truly do stay on campus and get the best experience when they are here all day. So, like Dr. Dixon mentioned, encourage them to be on campus more and be involved in clubs and organizations and stay on campus, eat lunch with friends, and just, that would be the best.
And just to reiterate, there are also more and more programs. There's a Center for Student Success that's designed to help you do that. There's special events that are being set up even for transfer students to make sure that if you're coming in as a transfer student, you can also blend in and learn about all the things that are going on campus. There's a lot going on, and the key is really for you to want to be involved. And frankly, what's going to happen by the time the students are juniors and seniors is they're going to become local students because they all want to go live at the beach. So they're going to go and become part of your community. So really, as the dynamics continue, we're doing more and more at the early stages to bring the students in, and there's going to be a lot more chances for interactions between the local community and the students on campus.
And if I could add one more thing to that. I've kind of talked about it like it's almost a disadvantage to be a local, when in fact it's an advantage. So encourage your local students to share their knowledge with these people who are coming in from the East Coast, from the Northwest. They can share San Diego that they know with all of these students who basically don't know East from West when they get to San Diego. So encourage them to kind of step up and take a leadership role.
And during our fall orientation, I'll just say that what we call our OLA week, there actually are some special programs for our commuter students, and they actually get the opportunity to stay overnight in the residence hall for a night or two during orientation. So we will definitely work, and as you said, there's lots of good opportunity. Why don't we take one more question before we wrap things up here? Anyone? Yes, where are the lights here?
What the acceptance rate was this year, and also what percent of students are in California and outside California?
Great. Question was about what our acceptance rate was this year for the freshman class and the percentage of students who are from in-state versus out-of-state. I can talk about that from the applicant and from the admitted student pool. Of course, we don't know exactly how the class is going to turn out, but if history is any indication. I mentioned that certainly things were very competitive this year in terms of the application process. We ended up admitting just less than half of those who applied, about 48%, if memory serves, of the applicants of those 14,600 that applied. A profile, generally speaking, of our students, and what I'll do is I'll use last year's freshman class as an example, the group that started in fall 12, and I think this class will be reasonably similar to that. We are about 53 to 54% of those students come from California. So not quite, just a little over half of them come from California, about half from all around the rest of the country and the world. About 60% of our entering class are female. About a third of them are students of color. About 6% of them are international students that come from countries around the world. Not quite half of our students are Catholic. Those are some of the major demographic groups that I can give you just a quick snapshot. There's certainly more information that I can direct you to if you want to drill into that a little bit further. And again, I think that this year's class may end up about the same. We're going to bring this portion of the program to a close. I'm going to take care of a couple of housekeeping items in just a moment, but please join me in thanking our panelists up here for all of their information.